All right, let's start. Number 10. The estivation hypothesis. Imagine you are the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. You have solved energy. You have conquered distance. You have built computational systems so vast they dwarf anything biology could produce unaided. And then you go to sleep. Not out of defeat, out of strategy. This is the core of the estivation hypothesis, proposed by Oxford philosopher Anders Sandberg. It begins with thermodynamics, specifically the fact that computation is more efficient at lower temperatures. The colder the environment, the more processing power you extract from the same unit of energy. A hyper-advanced civilization running on pure computation would recognize something chilling. The universe right now is too warm. The cosmic microwave background, the ambient heat left over from the Big Bang, is currently around 2.7 Kelvin. In trillions of years, as the universe expands and cools, that temperature will drop dramatically. For a digital civilization, that future universe isn't a dead wasteland, it's a paradise for thinking. So they wait, they hibernate, they power down their active processes and coast through the current epoch, conserving energy, accumulating resources, and waiting for a universe cold enough to think at maximum efficiency. That is why they haven't contacted us. We live in what they consider the hot, wasteful, early universe. We are not worth waking up for. The disturbing implication isn't that they're gone, it's that they're here, dormant, patient, indifferent, and our entire civilization fits inside what they consider a single moment not worth noticing. Number 9. The gravity trap. Not every civilization gets to leave. Some are imprisoned by physics before they ever build a radio tower. Consider a super-Earth. Planets between 1 and 10 times Earth's mass are among the most common objects in the galaxy. Many orbit inside habitable zones. Many likely carry liquid water. Some almost certainly carry life. But here is what the math reveals, quietly, almost cruelly. The surface gravity on such a world could make escape physically impossible. Not difficult, not expensive, but permanently out of reach for any civilization built from chemistry and rock. They could develop language, philosophy, art, mathematics precise enough to calculate the distance to other stars. They could know the stars exist. They could name them, map them, dream about them for thousands of years, and still never reach them. Not because they lack intelligence, not because they lack the will, because the physics of their own planet forms a ceiling that no amount of ambition can break through. Every rocket they build arcs back down. Every launch attempt ends the same way. Entire civilizations may spend millions of years staring at the sky, knowing escape is impossible. From our position, they are completely silent, not because they have nothing to say, because the universe built their prison before they were born. Number 8. The water world problem. Technology requires fire. That one fact may be the reason we have never heard from an entire category of intelligent life. Water worlds are not theoretical. Planetary scientists expect them to be common. Planets covered entirely by deep global oceans, with no exposed rock, no dry surface, no continent of any kind. The chemistry for life works there. Hydrothermal vents provide energy. Evolution has no reason to stop. Intelligence could emerge. It probably has. But intelligence is not enough. To build technology, a species needs to manipulate solid materials, smelt metal, shape rock, burn organic matter, refine minerals. Every step in the chain from stone tools to radio transmitters runs through fire and exposed earth. An intelligent species evolving beneath a global ocean has no access to any of it. The barrier is not cultural. It is not a failure of ambition. It is structural and absolute. They could develop consciousness, communication, something resembling civilization. They may have myths about what lies above the waves. They may look upward through the dark water and wonder what exists beyond the surface they can never reach. But they will never touch it. They will never send a signal. never build a transmitter, never leave a trace detectable across interstellar distance, and we will never know they were there. What if the universe isn't empty because life is rare? What if life is common and intelligence is the dead end? The first three reasons pointed outward: dormant civilizations, crushing gravity, permanent oceans. Each one described a physical barrier imposed on life from outside. But the next three reasons go somewhere more uncomfortable. They suggest the problem isn't the environment. The problem is what happens when life succeeds, when it survives long enough to become intelligent, complex, and aware. Because that's where things start going bad.
Number 7. The giant bottleneck. Every complex living thing on Earth shares a common ancestor that almost didn't make it. The path from simple chemistry to intelligent life is not a straight line. It is a sequence of extraordinarily unlikely transitions, each one so improbable that scientists debate whether any of them should have happened at all. Biologists call these the major transitions of evolution, moments where life reorganized itself so fundamentally that the step forward seems almost statistically impossible in retrospect. The jump from simple prokaryotic cells to complex eukaryotic cells, cells with nuclei, with organized internal structures, took nearly 2 billion years on Earth. 2 billion years of life existing, surviving, reproducing, and going nowhere. That transition may have happened exactly once in Earth's entire history. Sexual reproduction, multicellularity, the development of nervous systems. Each transition required a specific combination of genetic accident, environmental pressure, and survival luck that may not replicate anywhere else in the universe. Remove any single step and the chain breaks. No neurons, no brains, no civilization. The disturbing implication is this: the galaxy could be saturated with microbial life, oceans of bacteria on billions of worlds, and intelligent life might still be nearly non-existent. Not because intelligence is impossible, but because the evolutionary ladder leading to it has rungs so narrow that most life never finds them. We may be the result of an accident so specific it borders on miraculous, and miracles, by definition, do not repeat reliably across 100 billion galaxies.
Number 6. The transcension hypothesis. Here is a different kind of silence, one that comes not from failure, but from success. What if advanced civilizations don't expand outward into space? What if they go inward instead? The transcension hypothesis, developed by futurist John Smart, proposes that the developmental path of any sufficiently advanced civilization bends consistently in one direction: inward, toward miniaturization, toward simulation, toward inner space rather than outer space. The logic is grounded in efficiency. As a civilization advances, it learns that the most complex, information-rich environments are not found by spreading across vast, cold, empty interstellar distances. They are found by going smaller, building denser computational substrates, compressing more intelligence into less physical space, eventually disappearing into scales of matter and energy we cannot currently detect or observe. A civilization that has transcended outward expansion isn't dead, it isn't hibernating, it has simply moved somewhere we cannot follow or perceive. This produces a specific kind of silence, not of silence of absence, the silence of a door closing behind something that no longer operates at our level of reality. The universe we can observe may be the universe that has been left behind, the outer surface of a cosmos whose most advanced inhabitants moved past visible scales long before we evolved enough to look for them. We are searching outward. They went the other way. Number 5. The firstborn hypothesis. What if no one has contacted us,
because no one else has had enough time. For the first several billion years after the Big Bang, the universe was not hospitable to complex life. The early cosmos lacked sufficient concentrations of heavy elements, carbon, oxygen, iron, the atomic building blocks that biology requires. Those elements are forged inside stars and distributed when stars die. That process takes time, billions of stellar generations living, burning, and exploding before the raw material for life accumulates in meaningful quantities. The firstborn hypothesis suggests that Earth sits near the leading edge of the window when complex life first became possible. Not the absolute first, but early enough that most civilizations capable of existing in this universe have not had enough time to fully develop, expand, and transmit detectable signals across interstellar distances. We are not alone because others died. We are alone because others are not ready yet. That should feel like a relief. It doesn't entirely. Because if we are among the first intelligent civilizations in the universe, we have no precedent. No older civilization survived what we are about to face. No one left a map. No one transmitted a warning. We are navigating the future of intelligence itself without any example of what success looks like, or whether success is even possible. The silence isn't a graveyard. It might be a waiting room. And we arrived before anyone else. These three reasons suggest life struggles to reach intelligence, or intelligence chooses to disappear, or we simply arrived too early to find company. Each one is isolating in its own way, but none of them are the most frightening category. The next two reasons don't ask why civilizations can't contact us. They ask why civilizations that could contact us choose not to. And the answer to that question changes everything about how you read the silence. What if the silence has a reason? Not a physical barrier, not an evolutionary dead end, not a matter of timing, a decision. What if civilizations capable of reaching us, civilizations that know we exist, have looked at us, calculated the cost of contact, and chosen to say nothing? That possibility reframes every unanswered signal, every empty frequency, every night sky that returns nothing. The universe stops feeling abandoned. It starts feeling watched. Two reasons point directly at that conclusion. Both of them are worse than emptiness. Number 4, the zoo hypothesis. Someone may already know we are here. They found us long ago. They have been watching, and they made a deliberate choice to stay silent. The zoo hypothesis was first proposed by radio astronomer John Ball in 1973. Its premise is straightforward and deeply unsettling. Advanced civilizations may have established a policy of non-interference with primitive species, civilizations like ours, allowing development to proceed without external contamination. We are not undiscovered, we are quarantined. The logic is not irrational. Consider how humanity approaches newly contacted indigenous communities or isolated ecosystems. The scientific consensus favors observation over intervention. Contamination of a developing culture, even with good intentions, produces unpredictable and often catastrophic results. A civilization millions of years more advanced than ours might apply the same principle on a cosmic scale.
Which means the silence we interpret as absence may be maintained silence, enforced silence, a perimeter we cannot detect, built by something we cannot perceive for reasons we are not advanced enough to be told. Here is what makes this hypothesis genuinely difficult to dismiss. It is unfalsifiable in the most uncomfortable way. If the zoo hypothesis is true, any attempt we make to detect or contact other civilizations would be intercepted, filtered, or simply ignored by design.
our most powerful signals, Voyager, the Arecibo message, decades of radio transmission, would be observed and filed away by something that has already decided we are not ready. We are the exhibit. The boundary of our enclosure is the edge of our observable universe, and the observers, if they exist, are somewhere on the other side of a barrier we cannot see and have no instruments to measure. The most disturbing version of this hypothesis is not that they are watching. It is the question of what they are waiting for. What condition, what threshold, what event triggers the moment when the quarantine ends and contact begins? We do not know. We cannot know. And that uncertainty sits at the center of every signal we have ever sent into space and never received an answer to. Number 3. The dark forest theory. Forget the zoo. Forget the careful observers maintaining respectful distance. This reason suggests the silence is not protective. It is predatory. The dark forest theory originates from Chinese science fiction author Liu Cixin, but its logical foundation is grounded in game theory and the cold mathematics of survival. The argument unfolds in steps, and each step is harder to refute than the last. Start with two assumptions. First, every civilization's primary drive is survival. Second, resources in the universe are finite. From those two premises, a specific and terrifying logic emerges. If you detect another civilization, you face an immediate problem. You cannot know their intentions. You cannot verify whether they are hostile or peaceful, and crucially, you cannot afford to be wrong. A civilization that reveals itself to a hostile neighbor risks annihilation. A civilization that eliminates a potential threat first loses nothing if that threat was peaceful, but survives if it wasn't. The rational move under these conditions is always the same. Stay silent, stay hidden, and if you detect something else, eliminate it before it detects you. The dark forest is the universe operating as a vast, silent hunting ground, where every civilization that has survived long enough has reached the same conclusion. Visibility is vulnerability. The civilizations we cannot find are not absent. They are hiding. They have been hiding for millions of years, moving carefully through the dark, never transmitting, never announcing their position. And we, with our radio signals, our television broadcasts, our deliberate transmissions into open space, have been screaming our location into that forest for over a century. Every broadcast we have ever made has traveled outward at the speed of light. Our earliest radio signals are now over 100 light-years from Earth, an expanding sphere of noise announcing our existence, our location, and our technological level to anything within range. If the dark forest theory is correct, we did not wait to be found. We introduced ourselves, loudly, repeatedly, to whatever is out there in the silence. And the silence that has returned since may not mean nothing heard us. It may mean something did and is now deciding what to do. Two reasons remain. They are different in character from everything before them. One describes a window, a narrow closing window of detectability that may explain the silence through pure mathematics and timing. The other is the reason that absorbs all the others, the reason that sits beneath every hypothesis on this list and makes each one feel like a footnote. The last two reasons do not just explain why we haven't heard from aliens. They raise the possibility that the silence is a message, and that the message is meant for us. The mathematics of detectability is not forgiving. Run the numbers on how long a civilization remains visible to the universe, how long its signals travel at detectable strength, how long its technological signature persists at a scale another civilization could identify, and you arrive at a window, a specific, measurable, brutally narrow window. Most civilizations, the math suggests, miss each other entirely, not because they aren't out there, because the timing never aligns. Two reasons remain. The first is about that window. The second is about what waits on the other side of it. Number 2. The brief radio window. Every technological civilization announces itself the same way.
It begins generating electromagnetic radiation, radio waves, television signals, radar pulses, as a byproduct of its industrial and communication infrastructure. Those signals escape into space at the speed of light, expanding outward in every direction, growing weaker with distance but never fully disappearing. That is how we assumed we would find others. That is how we assumed others would find us. But here is what that assumption missed. The radio window is not permanent. It is a phase. A civilization moves through it the way a planet moves through a habitable zone, entering, occupying it briefly, and then passing out the other side. On Earth, that transition is already underway. Broadcast radio and television, the technologies that leak the most detectable radiation into space, are being replaced by fiber optic cables, directed transmissions, encrypted digital signals that produce almost no detectable electromagnetic leakage whatsoever. A civilization monitoring Earth from 100 light-years away, watching our radio signature, would have observed it brighten across the 20th century and would now be watching it begin to dim. We are already becoming quieter. Within centuries, possibly decades, Earth may be nearly undetectable to any civilization using the methods we currently use to search for others. Now apply that logic universally. Every civilization passes through its radio window. The window has a beginning and an end. The width of that window, measured against the age of the universe, is extraordinarily thin, a few centuries at most, out of billions of years of potential existence. For two civilizations to detect each other through radio emissions, their windows must overlap, not just exist, overlap. Both must be in their loud, leaky, electromagnetically messy phase at the same moment, close enough that the signal remains detectable across the intervening distance. The probability of that overlap across civilizations separated by thousands of light-years and billions of years of independent development is vanishingly small. We may have already transmitted our loudest signals into a universe that was, at that precise moment in cosmic time, not listening. The civilizations capable of hearing us may have passed through their detection phase before our signals arrived. The civilizations that will exist when our signals reach them may not yet have developed the tools to recognize what they are receiving. We are a brief flare in an ancient darkness, and the darkness has poor timing. Number 1. The Great Filter. Everything on this list, every hypothesis, every physical barrier, every silence with a reason behind it, points toward the same underlying question. Where is everyone? The Great Filter is not a single theory, it is a framework, a way of thinking about the silence that absorbs every other explanation and forces a conclusion that cannot be argued away. It was formalized by economist Robin Hanson in 1998, and its logic is straightforward enough to follow and disturbing enough to stay with you. For intelligent, spacefaring life to exist, it must pass through a sequence of developmental steps: chemistry to biology, biology to complexity, complexity to intelligence, intelligence to technology, technology to interstellar capability. Each step must succeed. Any step that fails ends the chain permanently. Somewhere in that sequence there is a filter, a step, or a combination of steps so difficult, so statistically brutal, that almost nothing gets through. We know the filter exists because the universe is silent. If the filter didn't exist, the galaxy would be visibly, unmistakably populated. It isn't. Something is stopping civilizations from reaching the stage where they become detectable across interstellar distances. The question, the only question that matters, is where that filter sits relative to us.
If the filter is behind us, we are among the rare survivors. The bottleneck was in our past, the improbable leap to complex cells, the unlikely emergence of nervous systems, some early evolutionary transition so difficult that almost no other lineage in the galaxy made it through. That would explain the silence. It would mean we are genuinely rare, not because the universe is hostile to life, but because the path to intelligence is nearly impassable, and we, by extraordinary chance, passed it. That version of the Great Filter is the one we should desperately hope for, because the alternative is worse in a way that is difficult to fully absorb.
If the filter is ahead of us, if the bottleneck is not in our evolutionary past but in our civilizational future, then the silence takes on an entirely different meaning. It means that civilizations like ours are not rare. It means intelligence is not the hard step. It means something else is. Something that waits further down the developmental path, something that every civilization, once it reaches a certain threshold of complexity and power, encounters and does not survive. What that filter might be, no one knows with certainty. Self-destruction through warfare or ecological collapse, a technological threshold that produces something uncontrollable, contact with something that eliminates civilizations before they can expand. The filter has no fixed identity. It has only a location, somewhere ahead, and a track record that, if the silence is any indication, is perfect. Every ancient ruin on Earth was once a civilization that believed it would persist. Every extinct species was once a lineage that had survived everything thrown at it, until it didn't. The Great Filter does not announce itself. It does not send a warning. The civilizations that encountered it are not here to describe what it was. The silence is the only record they left. We have passed every filter behind us. We are here, transmitting, expanding, advancing, which means we are approaching whatever comes next, and whatever comes next has, if the universe's silence means anything at all, stopped every civilization that reached it before us. The universe is 13.8 billion years old. It is vast beyond meaningful comprehension. It should be full of voices. It isn't. 10 reasons have been offered. Each one is real. Each one is grounded, and not one of them is comforting. Because even the most hopeful version of this story ends with the same image, one civilization, alone, advancing toward a future it cannot preview, in a universe that has given it no map and no warning and no sign that what comes next is survivable. The silence was never empty. It was always a message. We just haven't decided yet whether we are brave enough to understand what it says.